You are about to discover something less than 1% of men know about female attraction, a truth so profound that Carl Jung had to create an entirely new language to describe it. Imagine the female mind as a nocturnal ocean, where on the surface you only see the moon's reflection. But in its depths, invisible currents exist that can either drag you to the bottom or elevate you to paradise. Pay attention now. Have you ever felt completely lost, trying to understand what truly attracts a woman? Have you had that feeling of doing everything right, following all the advice, but still, something seems to slip through your fingers like sand? I guarantee you, the problem isn't you. The problem is that no one has told you about the unconscious forces operating behind every glance, every touch, every whispered word. Forces that Jung mapped out decades ago, but which almost no one applies today because they are too uncomfortable to accept. You keep banging your head against the wall, trying to decipher confusing signals. Contradictory messages that leave you awake at 3 in the morning wondering where you went wrong. That woman who seemed completely interested yesterday, today acts as if you're invisible. Do you know what's happening? You're operating only on the surface, while the real game happens in the depths of the unconscious. It's like trying to win a chess match by only moving your pawns while your opponent uses all the pieces on the board. Studies show that 95% of attraction decisions happen at levels that even the woman herself can't rationally explain. She simply feels it, and when you don't understand these forces, you become a hostage to them. Look at what happens. You meet an amazing woman. Everything seems perfect on the first few dates. The chemistry is there. Conversations flow. You laugh together. Then, out of nowhere, she starts to pull away. You try harder, you put in more effort. And the more you try, the more she retreats. Why? Because you activated unconscious triggers that neither you nor she knew existed. Triggers that Jung called archetypal complexes, primal forces that have driven human behavior since our ancestors lived in caves. I'm going to tell you an ultra-rare secret now. I've spent the last few years diving into the depths of Jung's analytical psychology, connecting dots that most modern psychologists ignore. I've discovered patterns that explain not only what attracts women, but why certain dynamics repeat themselves in all your relationships. It's like having an internal radar that detects invisible currents before they drag you down. Are you ready to face truths that will completely change the way you see attraction? Here are the 5 dark elements of female attraction that Jung discovered and that few men have the courage to explore. First, the anima projection. Every time you feel magnetically attracted to a specific woman, it's not her you're seeing. It's a part of yourself projected onto her. Jung called this the anima, the inner image of the feminine that every man carries within himself. Think of that woman who obsessed you, the one who occupied your every thought, who made your heart race just thinking about her. You thought it was her, but in reality, it was you finding lost pieces of your own soul reflected in her. That's why certain women affect you in ways you can't explain. They activate dormant aspects of your anima. When this happens, you completely lose control because you're dealing with forces much older than your rational mind. Always remember this. Does it make sense why you always fall for the same type of woman? Second, the feminine shadow archetype. There's a side of feminine nature that modern society tries to hide at all costs. A primal, instinctive, sometimes cruel side. Jung called this the shadow. And when a woman is disconnected from her own shadow, she projects it onto the men around her. You become the villain in her story without having done anything wrong. She accuses you of things you never even thought of doing. She punishes you for crimes that only exist in her head. And worst of all, she genuinely believes you are guilty. This happens because she can't accept her own destructive impulses. So she projects them onto you. It's a dangerous dance where you always lose if you don't understand the game. Have you been through this and felt confused? Third, the fascination with hidden power. Women are naturally attracted to men who demonstrate mastery over invisible forces. I'm not talking about money or muscles. I'm talking about something much more subtle and powerful. When you understand and navigate the currents of the unconscious with mastery, you emanate an energy they can't resist. It's the man who remains calm in chaos, who sees through social masks, who doesn't allow himself to be manipulated by emotional games. Jung discovered that this type of presence activates ancestral feminine survival instincts. The woman subconsciously recognizes you as someone capable of protecting her, not only from physical dangers, but from psychological and spiritual ones. That's why the handsome rich guy loses out to the man with psychological depth. She might not be able to explain it, but she feels that with you, she's safe on levels that go beyond the material. Pay attention to this. Can you feel the difference between superficial attraction and deep attraction? Fourth, seduction through chaos. Many women unconsciously test men by creating emotional storms. They provoke conflicts, create drama, destabilize the relationship just to see how you react. It's not malice. It's an evolutionary mechanism. She needs to know if you can keep your psychological structure intact when everything around you crumbles. If you enter the chaos with her, you lose. If you try to control her with force, you also lose. The answer lies in becoming the eye of the hurricane. Jung explained that this dates back to times when survival depended on choosing emotionally stable partners. The man who kept a cool head during predator attacks or tribal conflicts was the one who ensured the survival of the offspring. Today, this manifests as emotional tests. She picks a fight over something small to see if you'll fall apart. She provokes you to see if you maintain your center. And when you pass these tests without even realizing you were being tested, her attraction multiplies exponentially. Always remember this. Have you noticed these tests happening? Fifth, the integration of polarities. The final and most powerful secret Jung revealed is that true attraction happens when you integrate your own shadow and anima. When you accept and embrace both your masculine side and your internal feminine aspects. I'm not talking about becoming effeminate. I'm talking about accessing your intuition, your ability to feel beyond logic, your creativity and sensitivity, without losing your masculine essence. Men who achieve this integration become irresistible because they offer something almost no one else can. They are strong without being brutish, sensitive without being weak, intuitive without losing rationality. Women feel this instantly. It's as if you have a frequency that resonates with something deep within them. You don't need to do anything special. Your mere presence communicates everything. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole. And individuated men don't need to chase women. They are naturally drawn to them like moths to a flame. This changes everything. Does it make sense why some men seem to have a natural magnetism? Now you might be thinking, this is too complex to apply in the real world. Wake up, man. You don't need to become a Jungian psychologist to use these principles. Just start by observing your own patterns. Notice what kind of woman always attracts you. Note how you react when you feel jealousy or insecurity. Observe when you are projecting your own issues onto her. Awareness is the first step. When you start to see these forces operating, they lose power over you. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. The monsters that seemed enormous are just shadows on the wall. I'm going to give you a simple framework I call the TSI protocol. T for witness. Observe your emotional reactions without judgment. When you feel that wave of desire or anger, stop and observe, as if you were watching from the outside. S for separate. Separate what is yours from what is projection. Does that quality you love or hate in her also exist in you? Is there any truth to that accusation she made? Or is it pure projection? I for integrate. Accept and embrace the parts of yourself you were denying. If you get annoyed by dramatic women, where is the unrecognized drama in you? If you fall for mysterious women, what mysteries do you hide from yourself? It's that simple. You must have realized by now that this goes far beyond cheap seduction techniques. We're talking about real transformation, about understanding forces that shape not only your relationships, but your entire life. Think about that last time you felt completely lost with a woman, that situation where nothing made sense, where you did everything right, but everything went wrong. Now you understand what was really happening. They were unconscious forces dancing a dance that began long before you were born. But now you know the steps. Do you know how rare this knowledge is? 99% of men will live and die without ever understanding these dynamics. They will continue repeating the same mistakes, attracting the same toxic women, falling into the same traps. You are no longer one of them. You have access to secrets that Jung spent a lifetime decoding, insights that psychologists charge fortunes to teach in therapies that last years. And you just received this in minutes. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. Come on, start applying this today. In your next interaction with a woman, observe the projections happening. Notice when she is testing you. Note when you are projecting your anima onto her. You don't need to be perfect, just conscious. Over time, this becomes natural. You develop a sixth sense for the invisible currents of attraction. You begin to navigate the deep ocean of the feminine unconscious, like an experienced captain who knows every wave, every wind, every sign of a storm. And then something magical happens. Women start to feel something different about you, a depth they can't explain, a presence that makes them feel seen and understood, on levels they don't even comprehend themselves. You stop being just another man trying to impress and become the man they were looking for without knowing it. Remember the ocean metaphor I used at the beginning. Most men stay on the surface, fighting the waves, getting tired, drowning. You now know the deep currents. You can dive, you can navigate, you can even surf the waves that once knocked you down. This is real power. Power that doesn't depend on how much money you have in your bank account. Power that doesn't disappear as you age. Power that actually increases with time and experience. Jung said that the unconscious is like an iceberg. 90% is below the surface. Most people live their entire lives seeing only the tip, reacting only to the obvious, missing the immensity of what truly drives human behavior. You are no longer part of the majority. Pay attention to how this changes your perspective. Suddenly, feminine behaviors that seemed completely irrational make perfect sense. Reactions that used to confuse you are now predictable. Games that caught you off guard, you now see coming from a mile away. It's like having emotional X-ray vision. But be careful. With great power comes great responsibility. This knowledge can be used to manipulate, to exploit vulnerabilities, to cause real harm. Weak men use these insights for evil. Strong men use them to create authentic and transformative connections. Which will you be? The choice is yours, but the consequences are real. Use this knowledge to grow, to heal, to connect, not to destroy or dominate. The universe has ways of holding those accountable who abuse these powers. Jung himself warned about the dangers of meddling with unconscious forces without proper preparation and correct intention. You've been warned. Now, imagine your life 6 months from now applying these principles. You waking up without that anxiety about what she's thinking. No more lost nights trying to decipher ambiguous messages. No more feeling like you're always one step behind. Instead, you have clarity. You see the complete game, not just the visible pieces. You understand the motivations behind actions. You recognize patterns that were once invisible. And most importantly, you are no longer a slave to your own unconscious projections and complexes. This is true freedom. I'm not promising you'll conquer every woman. That would be a lie, and you know it. I'm promising you'll understand what's happening. And understanding is power. The power to choose better, to respond instead of react, to create instead of destroy. How many relationships have you sabotaged without knowing why? How many opportunities have you lost because you were blind to the real dynamics? That ends now. As of today, you have the tools. The map is in your hands. The territory still needs to be explored. But at least now you know where you're stepping. Some men will watch this and go back to their normal lives. They'll forget everything in a week. They'll continue stumbling in the dark, blaming women, blaming society, blaming everything but their own ignorance about these forces. Others will take this seriously. They will start observing, questioning, experimenting. They will slowly but surely develop mastery over their own unconscious. And these men will experience a level of success and satisfaction in relationships that most don't even dream is possible. Which group will you choose? The answer lies in your actions in the coming days. Not in your intentions, not in your promises to yourself, in your concrete, observable, measurable actions. Jung spent hours a day analyzing his own dreams, writing in his red book, confronting his own shadow. He knew that inner work is the hardest there is, but also the most rewarding. You don't need to go that deep, but you need to at least start. Start by observing your emotional reactions with women. Start questioning your attractions and repulsions. Start noticing when you are projecting and when you are being authentic. Small steps, but consistent steps. Over time, you develop what I call archetypal intelligence, the ability to read the deep layers of the human psyche as others read books, to navigate the collective unconscious as others navigate social media. This puts you in a completely different category of man. Studies show that women can unconsciously detect men who have done this inner work. There's something in their presence, their gaze, the way they move through the world that communicates depth and integration. It's magnetic on a level that transcends physical appearance or social status. Think of men we know as magnetic, despite not being conventionally attractive or wealthy. There's always something different about them. Now you know what it is. They've touched these depths, consciously or not. You can do this consciously. What an incredible advantage, don't you think? While other men are reading superficial seduction tips, you are decoding the matrix of human attraction. While they memorize pickup lines, you are integrating aspects of your psyche. While they pretend to be something they're not, you are becoming more authentically yourself. And paradoxically, the more you become yourself, the more attractive you become. Jung called this the paradox of individuation. The more unique and individual you become, the more universal your appeal. Because deep down, we all share the same archetypes, the same unconscious patterns. When you master them within yourself, you master them in everyone. Pay attention, because I'm going to close the loop now. Remember the nocturnal ocean I mentioned at the beginning? You now have the lantern to illuminate the depths. You have the map of the currents. You have the compass to navigate. What was once unknown and dangerous territory is now your domain. The same dark forces that once dragged you down now propel you forward. The same mysteries that once confused you now empower you. The same women who seemed impossible to understand are now open books for you to read. Not because you've become a master manipulator, but because you understand the language they themselves don't know they're speaking. The language of the unconscious, of archetypes, of the shadows and lights that dance in the human psyche. Do this now, before you forget. Like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe to the channel for more truths no one dares to speak. Share with that friend who needs to hear this but doesn't know they do. And most importantly, begin the journey. The ocean is waiting. The depths are calling. The true adventure of your love life is about to begin, but only if you have the courage to dive where few dare to go, into the dark and luminous territory of the human unconscious, where the real games are played, where true connections are forged, where you finally find not only the woman of your dreams, but the man you were always meant to be.